Why is asset tagging so important? And this is how you can use DataSplice to incorporate that barcode scanning into basically managing warranty assets. We know that we can use DataSplice for inventory, installation, maintenance, and we all typically have already processes around this. The piece that seems to be missing in this asset lifecycle is once that asset comes out of the field and it needs to be repaired or cleaned or tested or thrown away or whatever the case may be, we need to close that loop, and it still needs to get back into, like if we're just going to test it and clean it and we're going to put it back into the stock, we're going to restock that, then it still needs to go through, and there needs to be a way to manage that. One of the questions to ask is, how many times is an asset being handled? Am I sort the asset when I get it back? I sort it by manufacturer model. I scan the asset to check to see if it's under warranty, and then I resort an asset, and then I place it by status. Is it still installed? Is there some data in the system that hasn't caught up yet? So now I have to put it in a special pile over here because somebody has to take a look at that. And do I have to then scan it again to, now I have to put it on a pallet or put it in a bin or put it in the corner of the room over here, and so I have to scan it to do that. One way to solve that issue is to go from the old process is using DataSplice, where you scan the asset and then it does all of that logic for you based on the specifications in the asset. Basically, you have assets on one side, and then you have your pallets or locations where they're going to end up on the other side. Using the multi-asset location on the work order, once the asset gets scanned, that logic runs through. Again, it's based on Maximo data. It's going to run through that logic, and it's going to go, oh, this asset is garbage. We have to throw it away. You're going to put that in the obsolete bin. And then you scan it and it says, oh, this asset's still under warranty, but there's something wrong with it. So you need to send that back to the vendor. So that's your return. Data exception. I scan the asset, and it says, oh, I'm still located at such and such location. Well, clearly you're not, because I've just scanned you. You're here. So that has to go to a data exception. Or in the case of like a tampering or something, it would go to a data exception or a research. But if I've just taken it out because I put in a newer, better asset there for some routine reason, then I might just want it to go back into restock because that asset is still valid. It's still a good asset. I just don't need it at that particular location anymore. So then it goes through whatever my restock process is. So how it works is each pallet would be an actual like work order in Maximo. So it would be a classification. That pallet would have I would have a work order data exception, a work order of returns, a work order of obsolete. And so each of those work orders would then have a classification that lists specifications, capacity, manufacturer, model, next location, different various whatever data points you needed on that. And then DataSplice uses those specifications not only from the asset, but then from the work order to then match those two together to say, oh, this asset belongs with this work order. And then you can set the capacity of how many assets you want on that work order to say, oh, okay, I've scanned and I need 500 assets on that work order. And once I hit that, I'm done. That pallet or that is full. So again, it's just taking the old way of all the different times I'm sort these assets. And what you really want to look at is, are the questions always the same? And if so, are the answers always the same? Am I going to look at this asset and it's going to be one of these 5 answers? I'm going to look at this asset and it's going to be one of these 5 things. If the questions are always the same, it's a repeatable process. And if it's a repeatable process, then you should be able to improve your business process by putting this into place. Removed asset processing. This is just some of the logic that you can go through when you're setting this up. So is the data correct? So when I scan that asset, am I showing the correct status? Is the paperwork getting completed on time, the paperwork? So basically, is the system up to snuff or with the fact that I have that asset in my hand, or is it still telling me 3 blocks down the road somewhere? Are you going to reuse that asset? Did you remove that asset because of some normal routine upgrade type reason, or is there something wrong? Is there a defect with that? Is the asset under warranty? Have you obsoleted that particular type of asset because now you're using something that's more efficient? You know, you replace your washer and dryer at your house. Are you going to go to mom and pop's appliance shop and buy an older model, or are you going to go to Sears and buy a brand new model? Is it that kind of thing? Does someone need to do something with the asset? So are there any special conditions surrounding that asset? Is there some reason that you need to have somebody pull that asset aside and take a look at it, or research data or something like that? And so then this is just basically the logic flow around the asset processing. Is the asset installed or showing in an operating status? If it's no, then it goes to the next check. And then is the asset marked for special handling? No, then it goes to the next check. And so it just goes through that logical processing until it ends up on one of the work orders or pallets somewhere. So the benefit is that if I'm scanning my asset, then I can go into Maximo, into DataSplice, into whatever system where that data is that I've just scanned, and I can do that logical processing to determine the final disposition of that asset. Yes, you can type it in, but people type things in incorrectly. People type, you know, they get numbers switched around. If you can scan that asset, then you're going to get that good data up front and to be able to do that logical processing.